Hey, welcome to episode 240 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. We've done 240 of these so far. It's just so much fun and one of the things I love to do is talk to people and ask people questions and really get at what excites them and the wisdom they have to share. What do you love to do? Maybe it's a talent that you started cultivating when you were younger, but then forgot about in the day-to-day of life. Maybe you still do it every day. It is challenging to bring our talents and our joys with us through life. It definitely is. I'm talking about this because my guests today have done exactly that, and they're so inspiring. I'll tell you more about them in a sec, but first this.
Today's guest, Sidewalk Diamonds, Beth Pyper-Holz and Tony Thomas.
Well, welcome back. Sidewalk Diamonds. You're going to love this band. Is a band who plays what they call garage Americana, a soulful blend of rock and Americana with a rocker spirit across venues in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area of Minnesota. What I find to be exceptional about this band is that from the moment I clicked play on the first track featured on their website, I felt my mood lighten. Their music is infectious. The lyrics, vocals, and instrumentals have a lived-in quality that honors precisely what is right for the song. The graphics are top-notch, thanks to their drummer Nick Pyper-Holz, and I found the video section well produced and unique thanks to lead guitarist Jeff Peterson. Sidewalk Diamonds seems like a band whose members have been doing this full time for a long time and earning a sweet living off of their efforts to boot. But that's not the case at all. All the band members have more traditional full-time gigs. With so many brutally hard news stories out there, it's reassuring to realize that our hearts and souls can still connect to the goodness in the world around us. It's not unlike sitting down at concrete on a sunny day and seeing sparkles in all the hardness or diamonds in the sidewalks. See what I did there? Please help me welcome Beth and Tony to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Beth and Tony. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks for the kind words.
Yes, very sweet.
So you're welcome. So to be here at all, be here at all. It's been a long process. So often when we think of doing something as adults, we think of, can I make money at that? But Willie, what you both found first in your childhood and teenage years was a love for music.
Yes.
How did you first begin to love music, Beth? Were you inspired by your parents?
Well, growing up, I remember my mom always had records playing. I also grew up, I loved the choir in the church. And then I was in choir and did musical theater. I've always loved to sing. I've always loved music.
How about you, Tony? How did music get in your blood?
Well, my parents both really liked to dance, but I think it was really my older sisters who were kind of big music fans and had record collections, kind of started the tradition. And then as they went off to college, I sort of took over their record collections. And that's when I started to really get into music and collecting records.
Do either of you have special music teachers as you think back on your youth who really inspired you?
Oh.
I am almost totally self-trained. So when I was old enough to start band in elementary school, they sent me home with the mouthpiece from a trombone because I tested really well on being able to hear pitch. So they wanted me to play trombone because you have to work the slide to get the right pitch. And I came home with it and I showed it to my mom and she said, well, we can't afford a trombone. There was no option to rent musical instruments where we were at the time. So that was basically the end of my music training as a child. And it wasn't until I went to college and I took like just a foundational music theory class that I learned a few things and started to build on that.
Yeah, I was similar middle school. I played clarinet. And then I was in choir. One summer I did piano just to get the basics. And I remember I was young. My aunt had brought us over a guitar once. I tried to play, but it got broken and my dad tried to glue it back together. Didn't really work. And so it wasn't until, it must have been right after high school when we traded in my clarinet for a 12-string acoustic guitar. And that's what I first learned playing guitar on, which was exceptionally challenging for someone who didn't really know at all what I was doing. But I had a lot of friends who played, and so I was kind of self-taught with a lot of that. And yeah, it was really hard. I still have it, or it's at Tony's.
Yeah, it's actually right across the room from me here.
It was fun.
That's actually the first, that's how I learned to play guitar too. I had a roommate with a 12-string and he wrote down some chords for me. So my first guitar experience was with a 12-string guitar as well.
Where did the inspiration come to you think to learn something challenging like a 12-string guitar? Like no one's, like your parents aren't telling you, here, you need to play this for half an hour a day.
Yeah, I think, well, this was after high school when I was entering college, and I don't think it was intentional to get the 12-string. I think it was just I don't know if it was a pawn shop or a record store. It was just that's what was available for the trade-in. So I don't remember. Neither of my parents knew how to play guitar either. So, but it was really great to have. And obviously then once I eventually got a 6-string guitar, it was so much easier to play. That was wonderful. I felt a little more competent. So, but
yeah, it's interesting, like I've tried to think of like where the drive comes from, going from not knowing how to play at all to spend all that time getting your fingers in the right spot, and it hurts at first to press down the strings, and like what motivated me to just push through. But it's like there's just something about getting that sound out of the instrument that's just so satisfying, even if you're not very good at it. And yeah, I stuck with it. And
I had a lot of friends who were in bands in Sioux Falls. I think that's a lot of it. And then a lot of people, it was the early 90s, liked hanging out and playing guitar. That's when we were all learning how to sing the Indigo Girls songs and stuff like that. And then I was inspired then to try to write my own songs also.
yeah,
So for you, Beth, there was a community around music that inspired you.
Yes. As far as wanting to play guitar and writing songs. Yes, for sure.
yes, similar for me. I at this point I was living in Minneapolis, and there's a very active music scene, and so I was going to shows all the time with friends. At the time I was a drummer, so I was already playing in a band, but I was playing drums. I didn't know how to play guitar. So I was already in a band. I was hanging out with people who were other musicians. I was going to shows as often as I could. It was just part of a whole scene, I guess.
Yeah. I think, and then for me, I didn't actually play in a band until I moved up here to Minneapolis. And that was in the later 90s with some people I worked with. I worked at Kinko's downtown, and a lot of musicians worked at different Kinko's stores. And and then I started collaborating with other people who wanted to play music. And that was really fun.
Do you remember how that conversation went when you first were invited to be in a band, Beth?
That is well, I think for me, one of the people I worked with, I worked Saturday mornings for a while. And so we would always have music playing. And then one of the people I worked with was bringing in music, and Lori Ray was a popular musician at that time around the cities. And I just remember being inspired by her music to then start writing my own more so. Like I had a few stuff, but a lot of stuff that wasn't finished, and then just started meeting up with different people and playing.
So it started pretty organically.
Yes.
Tony, do you remember the moment when you were trying to learn the guitar and struggling, and you finally had a breakthrough?
I think it was when I could switch between chords without having to stop. Because when you're first learning where your fingers need to go, it's like I would strum a few times, and then I would have to really think hard and move my hand to the next place and then strum some more. And my roommate just encouraged me. He's the one who was teaching me guitar, encouraged me, just keep strumming and try to change chords, just strum at a very slow tempo. And I just have this memory of being on the couch, and when I could switch from one chord to another, it was like, yay! Progress.
Yeah. Come on, Johnny.
I listen to your music now, and it just brings joy, and it's so well done, and it's so just complete. When you were in your 20s, did either of you think you would ever get to this point professionally?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so. Not in this role. When I was in my 20s, my primary instrument was still playing drums. So if anything, I thought I would be kind of, in the back of the band playing drums, maybe. But I never, at least back then, I didn't think of myself as a songwriter, or, let alone like the technical parts of engineering, recording the music and that stuff. Just kind of happened over time.
Well,
I don't know what I thought. I know I'm very happy with that we're capable as a band right now and collaborating with Tony and pretty much being able to set out to do the things we want to do with writing songs, recording songs, playing shows, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think probably in my 20s, I'm sure I would hope that I was still able to be doing music, but in my 20s, I don't think, no, I didn't have any recordings or anything. It's a bit more challenging, I think.
Yeah, it definitely, like, putting on a record just seemed unattainable. Like, at least my thinking back then was, well, you need to get a record deal and get somebody to pay for it all, and then you have to go on tour. And, it probably took a long time to kind of unlearn that, oh, we can do this ourselves, and it doesn't have to involve, a lot of money or signing a record deal. And plus, the music industry has changed so much too that there's just a lot more ways to do it independently now than there were when we were young.
That's such a good point, Tony. I mean, often when we think of doing something in life, we think of it in terms of, I have to take these enormous steps to get it done, and it sounds so overwhelming that we can talk ourselves out of it, but Sidewalk Diamonds has found, like, I mean, your stuff is really good, like really polished, and I think it could be discovered by whatever that looks like. But to do that, you didn't need like a huge record deal or anything. You just needed
basically time.
Great.
Yeah.
And you need a band. Will you both talk about a bit about how the band formed?
Sure. Well, it started with Tony, so maybe he wants to
Yeah.
during the pandemic and learning how to do recording, because that's the thing too these days with technology.
Right.
It's definitely more accessible for.
Yeah.
But I'll let you.
Yes, I've dabbled with recording over the years. I used to have a cassette 4-track recorder, that was about maybe a little bit bigger than my laptop that I've got in my lap right now. But right before the pandemic hit, I was probably at a pretty low point with playing music. I wasn't even thinking about playing live. I wasn't thinking about recording or writing new songs. I was just starting to work up the courage to share songs with some of my friends. So Beth's husband, Nick, who's also the drummer in the band, he's one of the first people I sent us a quick demo to get some feedback and get a little encouragement maybe. And then we were all locked in during the pandemic, and I thought, okay, I can't go anywhere. I've got nothing else to do. Literally at the time, I think I had one microphone, and I just started working on a song. I had a song written, but it hadn't been recorded. So I just did what I could do by myself here. I started sharing that with a couple more friends and getting feedback, which helped make the song better. And eventually I put out a single with this one song that I'd recorded. And I got a lot of good positive feedback about that, just with friends and family.
Is it Stories?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song called Stories. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to keep this momentum going. And so I that project was called Dog and Tony Show. So
Dog and Tony Show.
And so eventually my bubble in the pandemic started to expand. And so, I was starting to hang out with Nick and Beth, and they were kind of in our circle of people we felt comfortable hanging out with. So I invited Beth over to sing on some stuff that I was recording for the next Dog and Tony Show record. And that's kind of how it got started. I think I did. So there was an EP I did. It was all just me. And then there was 2 full-length records that Beth came and sang on. And then I thought, well, I should return the favor. I know Beth has songs that she hasn't recorded. So Beth and I started working on the Pyper project and put out an EP. And, this is all over several years. And then after all of that, I thought, well, why are we work really well together. Why aren't we just working together instead of I support Beth, Beth supports me? So then I had this idea. I'd been toying around with like what I would call a project. I still am not comfortable just releasing something as Tony Thomas. One, because it's kind of a common name. Like if you do a Google search for Tony Thomas, you'll find a lot of results.
Right.
So then I thought my last Dog and Tony Show record was called Sidewalk Diamonds, and I really liked that phrase. So I thought, okay, let's start a band called Sidewalk Diamonds. And so at first it was just me and Beth. We would get together, practice songs, and we played a bunch of shows as a duo. And then eventually we started pulling in more friends until we got...
And with the recordings too, you had Nick played drums.
Correct. Yeah, that's
on
true.
The Sidewalk Diamonds and the Pyper EB. Well, the second one. Yes.
Yeah. So Nick and Beth and I had already started collaborating but it was only recording at the time. There wasn't really many venues yet open for shows, aside from maybe some patio stuff. Yeah. I don't know, Beth, do you have...
Well, we were at the, well, first I was going to go back for a second when I was going to say, so when he asked me to come over to sing the first time, when I showed up, I didn't realize that he was going to be recording me that very day. I remember I showed up but it was really fun though, because Tony and I had worked together before, and Swing Swang Swang was the name of the band. And so I feel like I'm kind of familiar with Tony's writing style or whatever, but that was really cool. Like all of a sudden he was like, okay, try harmonizing on this. And then I just came up with something, sang, and he liked it. And it just kind of got the ball rolling. And it was a really great experience, especially during the pandemic and everything. Then I was going to jump to, so the first time we played at Cloudland was just the two of us. And that's when Tony saw Bill, who is now our bass player.
Yep.
So I think where we got very lucky, where Tony just had a brief conversation with him asking if he still plays bass. And
you knew him from before, Tony.
Tony did, yeah.
We were friends in college, and he was in a different band, but our band shared a practice space with his band, and so I knew him through that. So I knew he'd been playing bass for a long time, and I think it was within a week of me asking that we got together with Bill, maybe 10 days or something.
Right.
And we just shared some of the stuff we'd already recorded, and he showed up and he kind of knew what to do. And it was
he enjoyed. And so a lot of like the initial songs we were learning were from Dog and Tony Show and Piper EP. And then I think it was great. Tony is an amazing songwriter. He's always writing songs. Like, that's what I am so impressed with. Like, you have so many songs. You're able to just keep the engine rolling and your creativity with it. Where with a lot of my stuff initially was songs that I had not recorded, like stuff I had previously worked on that never were recorded. And so we brought it to the band, which was really fun to be able to do. But now with this group, what's been really, I'm grateful for is now I'm more inspired and writing more songs and to just keep writing and with the band. And it's something I'm very grateful for and brings joy for sure.
Yeah. Me too.
So for both of you, what is it like? So you're writing a song as on paper. Are you playing it as you're writing it?
I think we have different styles. For me, a lot of times, so at my job where I work, I'm usually walking around doing stuff, kind of mindless tasks in a sense, like I do shipping and things, but I'll just sometimes have a lot of sing-songy things happening in my head sometimes, and I'll come up with a melody or something I want to do, and I just record it to my phone just to remember it, and then I'll go back to it to be able to figure out what chords or what music to go with the melody. I generally always have a melody first, and then
when you say record it to your phone, are you like humming it?
Oh yeah, like I'll have singing or words or anything. Yes, just so I don't forget it, because a lot of times, just because if I had an idea earlier that day, and then if I come home and I try to work on something, I'll be like, oh, what was that? And can forget it so easily if I haven't written something down,
Thank goodness for the record feature on our phones, huh?
Yes. I even had one of those like years ago, tiny little recorders. I think my mom had gotten me, like, I can't remember what it was called. It looked like a very tiny cassette player thing that you could do. And yes. And just for that reason, because I would always be walking home from work, and that's when I would when I have movement, I'd get more ideas and I would just want to get them down, and it was before the cell phone. So yeah, that helps a lot, I think. And I do, and when writing, I do like to do pen and paper for sure, or pencil and paper. For me, it just helps more so.
Would you say a little bit, please, Beth, about how movement inspires your creativity?
Oh, I think that, like with going for walks, it helps my brain with ideas, I guess. But for me, being inspired and stuff, that's what I mean with the movement, like going for a walk. It's like, especially even, well, it's not exactly the same, but with my daughter, a lot of times if things are going on, we always, let's go for a walk and talk. Like that seems to help with being able to be moving and having conversations and coming up with ideas versus just sitting. And then you sometimes maybe feel a little stuck.
Yeah.
So that's what works for me. Movement.
How about you, Tony? What's your writing process like?
Well, it's changed a little bit over the years, but the foundation of it is sometimes it's journaling, where like I always have a notebook going somewhere. You know, I've got a whole shelf of notebooks to my right over here that I've kept, and you know, I'll journal, and then every so often I'll go back through the journal with a highlighter and I'll pick out phrases that I think are kind of go well together. You know, I think I read this book in the early 90s called Writing Down the Bones, and it was all about like just write and don't, with no judgment. So just put out a lot of material, and you edit later. Don't edit while you're writing the first draft. Just write, and then refine it. And so that's always stuck with me, to try to quiet that voice that I still find myself every now and then where I'm about to write the next line of a song and I'm like, that's not very good. And I'll sit and I'll realize, well, just write it down and move on. Just move on. You can fix it.
Just write it down and move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. So I'll do that. A thing I've been trying lately is reading poetry. And then if there are phrases in poems that I like, I'll write those down and I'll use them as like a writing prompt, like a really vivid image can kind of get me started on an idea. And it's like a springboard. I'll just use like a line or two from a poem. And by the time the song's done, the line is gone, you know, that I took from the poem, and the song is mine at that point. But it just gets my brain working in a slightly different way. And then, as Beth knows, I'm sort of notorious for crafting the song for a long time. Like it's not uncommon for me to bring a song in. We'll start working on it, and I realize, oh, this needs to change. I don't like this line anymore, or it should be in a different key, or it needs a different part or something. So I've found that the song is better the more time I spend with it. And so I try to take the pressure off myself to say it's done.
So you're big on the revision process.
For sure, yeah. Even when it's still in the handwriting phase, there's songs where you look in my notebook and it will be about 6 or 8 pages of different versions of the song where I've written it out over and over and over again. It just kind of changes each time.
So here's a huge question. For both of you, how do you both decide when a song's, can you revise something for the rest of our lives? How do you decide when to launch it, when to record it?
I don't know if I have.
When it's done. No.
That's completely clear, Beth. That clears up all my questions.
You're welcome. Well, what's interesting, because when you, like, if I write something, bring it to the band, I don't necessarily have, Jeff Peterson, the other guitar player, what he's going to do. And Nick maybe kind of has an idea, and same with the bass, where everyone still has to, it's kind of very much a team group effort. And when deciding, I think when everyone feels happy with the end result is when we're ready to record, in a sense, because everyone has a piece to the puzzle to make it all come out the way you want.
So it would be kind of foolish for either of you to write a song and say, "Oh, this is brilliant," and just declare done before you share it with the band.
Although I sometimes do that. I will I'm very impulsive. I'm a lot of times much emotional writer, I believe, like big feelings, then go to journaling, go to writing a song. And I at first want to work alone and get things going. And I'll be very like, this is how I want this song to be. And so I think what I'm trying to learn from Tony is to be more flexible and allow there to be input with what to do with the song, instead of taking that as criticism. I think is probably what a problem I have. Like, saying, what do you mean? You don't like, I just, which is very immature and foolish, because I trust everyone in the band. But I don't know, something to be said when you first create something, like, this is my art, and a lot of times it is pretty good, but I usually can use some help.
That happened to me so many times as a poet in the past. Like, I would be so eager to show my poem to someone, but then they would give me feedback, and I would be like, I don't, the way I had it was better.
Right.
Yeah. No, that can be hard. It's hard to, I've gotten better about it. I feel like I'm pretty good about it now, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was much closer to the songs, and it was much harder to accept feedback and then take action on it. Right. Like,
yeah,
it was tough to be objective about it, I guess.
Skill. Yeah.
But what I was going to say, like, in terms of when as I was listening to Beth talk, with that idea of when I think something is finally done, I agree 100% that, I want Bill to come up with his bass part, because he, I want him to have his creative input, and the same goes for Jeff, the same goes for
Yes.
Beth, same goes for Nick. But I think for me, the words I spend a lot of time on the lyrics. So, like, if I'm going back over a song and there's a part or a line in there somewhere where I'm kind of like, that's kind of weak, I'll really hone in on that until I feel like there's nothing else I can improve with the lyrics. And then similarly, like, melodically too, if it's hard for me to sing, sometimes I wind up with a song and it's not the most natural melody for me to sing, and I have to kind of rethink that a little bit. So, like, if I feel like I can sing my part and I like what I'm singing, and I feel like the words are refined where they say what I want them to say, and I can't find anything that I don't like in them anymore, then my part is done, and then it's up to the rest of the band to kind of help me fill it in.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking high standards here. Like both of you have day jobs. I mean, what inspires you and the rest of the band to bring the A game to something that doesn't put food on the table?
It's because we all enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too obvious.
But we enjoy doing it together, right? Like it's interesting to me. Like last Saturday we played a show, and we have band practice on Mondays, and there's never been a single time after we played a show where somebody has said, "I just need to take this Monday off. Let's take a break." It's always like, no, of course we're getting together on Monday. This is a blast. Why wouldn't we get together?
Yeah, at least for me, I mean, I enjoy doing it, and I feel better after we've met up. It's like, it's like being in a club. It's it's
Yeah,
but and I believe everyone else in the band feels the same way, and the fact that we're doing it because we like doing it. Obviously, it's not something because we're not
it's not a chore.
Right.
Yeah, no, what?
Yeah.
It's not a chore, right?
Right.
Everybody's doing it because they enjoy it, and we
and it's work, but it's satisfying, very satisfying work, and
it can be very cathartic.
Yes.
Please say more about the idea of singing and playing and writing being cathartic.
Oh yeah. Well, for me, it helps. I think it helps so much for my overall well-being as a human being. Being able to sing and play and just that whole, because even my daughter loves singing too, and we sometimes will do harmonies together and everything, and just being silly and dancing and singing. But I think even just the vibrations that are created with us doing that and the energy that's created, it's just it's like such a release, and you feel great after doing it. And I think we had said this before, that I think I'm pretty fortunate that I love singing. I'm pretty good at it. And if I could not sing, I think I would be very, very sad. For sure. It brings me a lot of joy.
There's something to, I haven't quite put my finger on it, and there might even be, some research about this or something, but there's something just really human in singing and singing together.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way back, long before this project came together, where I used to, when I wasn't in a band for many years, and I would go camping with friends and sing around the campfire. Like, it was always just such a blast, even though it's only, 6-8 people, not a big audience, but we just had so much fun singing together. So it's just, it's part of the, I haven't quite, there's something psychological about it that playing music and singing just it creates joy.
Oh, completely. Well, because even like after my mom had passed away, I would just play guitar and sing like the same few songs like almost every day. And it was healing in a sense too. And that's even, and I had written the song Grace that's on the Piper EP after my mom had passed away. And it just really helped me with processing her death, When I think similar for Tony, his album about, the death, Tony has lost both of his parents.
Mm.
But beautiful songs. Then
thank you.
I will let you talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the second Dog and Tony Show record. Only Love Resides had 2 or 3 songs that were about my mom. And that was, processing all of that. I mean, when grieving, working through that, there was a lot of journaling that turned into songs. And, I'm also somebody who's like very much an internal processor. I might be really sad, but my affect, I've probably talked to you exactly like I'm talking right now. You might never know. But internally, like I'm just, all this stuff is churning in my mind. And I think that's also helpful with the writing process, is just to get it out and down on the page and put it behind me in a way.
That's where you and I are. So I think you'll kind of always know what mood Beth's in. If I'm sad or mad or anything, it's just like very apparent. But yes, journaling is huge, and then being able to be creative and make art with it is, it's a necessity for all humans to have some type of art. And
I'm fascinated. You both are talking about joy, like one sentence is about joy, and then about grief. Then you're talking about joy again. That seems like quite a flow there between emotions.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think that's where maybe that's the genesis of it, is it's processing emotions, whether it's something, whether it's happy or something really sad has happened in life, or things that are happening in the world right now that are upsetting, and tragic.
Yeah.
The title or the name of your band that you've chosen, Sidewalk Diamonds, like the hardness of the concrete, but yet the diamonds of joy shining up. It's quite the name.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It comes from a John Prine song. Well, the inspiration, there's a John Prine song with a line that's from the dirt in the gutter to the diamonds on the sidewalk. It's not even one of his more well-known songs, but I just loved that turn of phrase. And so,
yeah. Yes.
Since I knew your mom, Beth, would you please say a little about Sweet Smiling Sandy Sue?
Oh, yeah. Well, that song I wrote, she had her first heart surgery. I want to say it must have been in like 2017 maybe, or something like that. And that was like out of the blue. We didn't know what was going to happen. So that song, I came up with the melody and the words, and then Nick helped me, and we actually we did a little recording of that, but it was just like to make a little video for my mom and dad. So then and she was fortunately able to hear that song many times, for their anniversary and her birthdays before she had passed away. So then, since we didn't have a recording of that, it was nice then to let that be a Sidewalk Diamonds song that we were all able to play on. But I just basically, so Sweet Smiling Sandy Sue, my mom, great conversationalist, very warm and friendly, and just, especially in our family, very nurturing. And I think we were all just very lucky. I had a great mom. Was very lucky, for sure.
You did. When I started my blog like a long time ago, it was so small, and I was so nervous to get feedback, and and your mom would always write comments. It was so sweet.
Yes, very supportive. Always wanting people to, go for it. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, and that reminds me too. So like when I did start songwriting, like in my 20s or something, I was like going through a bad breakup or something. And I remember her telling me to start journaling. And then that really helped me, then inspired to turning into songwriting from the journaling. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious about how you got the title Linoleum Skies.
Yeah.
Just a great song title.
Oh, thank you. That was actually written. So my oldest sister lives in Phoenix, and my birthday's in February. So I'll often go see her in February for my birthday to get some warm weather and have a little vacation out there. And I've got a free.
It's not cold in Minneapolis in the winter, is it?
It's all, yeah. February is about like where I reach my limit with winter, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I was out there, and that was actually that was part of. So a lot of folks have heard of National Novel Writing Month in November. In February, there's an internet community that does February Album Writing Month, where you're supposed to try to write 14 songs in the month of February. So a song basically every 2 days. So I was out there in February, and I borrowed a guitar, and at night I would just sit down and try to write a song and get it down on paper. And that song, I had gone on a hike that day. It was by myself, and it was just gorgeous hike. And I came to the top of this hill, and I looked out, and it's nothing but houses that look identical to each other, like as far as you could see at the bottom of the hill. And I just thought, so that's where this idea, like the line about cookie cutter houses came from. And I had this kind of idea about like this kind of veneer, right? This sort of falseness to it. Like here I was in this really beautiful place on a hike, but a quarter mile away from me is suburbia. And it just kind of felt false. And so I somehow that those two words, linoleum skies, just popped into my head, and that kind of became the central image of the song.
Yeah, it's a brilliant linoleum sky. The two words go so well together.
Oh, thank you.
I'm also fascinated. So many things. We won't get to it all, but I'm fascinated also by just the excitement of these graphics and just how beautiful it is.
Nick spent a lot of time working on this, and he's a perfectionist. So I think it would be interesting to hear about how does he know when something's done is probably because it's now the deadline.
Yeah.
And so he can't keep working on it. Otherwise, I think he would sometimes work on things forever because he just loves it. But he's so talented. It's really good.
Yeah, and he's very thoughtful about it too. So the album cover, when we decided on the title, "Dreams of Dance Floors," that's a line from one of my songs about my dad, and my parents met in a dance hall. So he's asking me all kinds of questions about where the dance hall was, and what when was it, and what it looked like, and so he really crafted that album cover based off of like that kind of Quonset hut style dance hall, which is probably very similar to where my parents met.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very well done.
I wanted to get the Kwanzaa one up again. Where did it go?
Oh, the album cover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved that.
Oh, and that's a really good one too.
I love this one.
Yes. There it is.
Go.
Dreams of Dance Floors.
So that also symbolizes to you, Tony, where your parents met.
Yeah, yep,
Mhm.
definitely. Just a small town dance hall.
Yeah.
And I think this is I think that might have actually been a photo that Nick took out. Nick and I, my parents are from the same part of the state where Nick grew up, so he found something that was in that area that looked like what I was describing and used that photo.
Right.
So you really are able to celebrate and honor your parents, both of you, through your music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a big source of connection for me and my dad. When I was first learning to play the guitar, country music songs were like classic country stuff like Johnny Cash and Hank Williams. Those were the very easy songs to learn. And my dad loved that stuff. So he would sit for hours and have me play guitar for him and talk about, he would put a nickel in the jukebox and listen to that song when he was young. And
Mm-hmm.
we really, we bonded over that a lot.
That's cool. Yeah.
Great. Oh gosh. So we're wrapping up, but I need to ask you this: what type of audience feedback moves you the most?
Well, when you're done playing a show, it is always nice to have people tell you did a good job. I mean, that's, that always helps you feel a little more confident if you're insecure or vulnerable up there. But it's also nice to, like, maybe people that if you're closer to or know better, if they can give you some critical feedback that can help you to do better, that's also, that's great because everyone wants you to succeed in some way,
Yeah.
Quite a good tone.
Well, I would also add that, like, with the break in the pandemic and not playing live music in venues for a long time, it's just this amazing energy when people in the room are responding what you're doing as you're playing.
Right.
That is the best feeling. Like, to look out as you're singing a song and you can tell people are paying attention.
Yeah.
And maybe even dancing or
sometimes dancing.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
Super fun.
It must be a rush knowing that you're not only playing covers, which is great in and of itself, but you guys wrote this music and as a band, that must be amazing. And people are dancing to it. Wow.
Well, I think that we had the White Squirrel we played on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I did dress up like Princess Leia because, it was fun. My dad was in town. We had family there. And it's a wonderful venue to play. But there were a lot of people there, and it just felt very, I really liked that show a lot. That was really nice with a lot of feedback from the audience and different friends. Yeah. That was great.
I didn't catch that it was May 4th. Until you said.
Which is right. Yeah, white squirrel, and then
Awesome.
Yeah.
yes.
So could keep talking, but just one more question for each of you. What I do, I talk about the power of doing our imperfect best and what it means to me as I envision the best I want for my life and to contribute to the world and go for that. But when imperfections and mistakes and all that comes up, instead of being stopped by that, I try to learn from those things and move back towards my best. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Beth?
Oh, I think for me that would be to trying to not be afraid to make mistakes, allow that to happen, because that's part of the creative process. And a lot of times, a lot of stuff is just in your head that's holding you back, whether that anxiety, vulnerability, insecurities, and just keep trying. Just keep trying your best. I think for me, that's. Did I answer your question?
Powerful. That's powerful. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Tony Thomas?
I think it's very similar to what Beth said. I would probably sum it up as letting go, right? Like at a certain point, you just have to let it go, get up there and do your thing, and forgiving yourself too, like not getting stuck on those mistakes when they come up, just moving on to.
Yeah.
I used to torture myself, like thinking back on the show, any small mistake I made, I would just really perseverate about it and feel bad about it. And I've learned to just move on. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it now. We'll do it better next time.
Yeah, not to be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking of making mistakes, I should have put up your website like 5 or 10 minutes ago, but I just put it up now. I encourage everyone listening to go to Sidewalk Diamonds. It just brings joy and I mean, like, I don't know about you guys listening, but I mean, I want joy. So if you want joy, go check out sidewalkdiamonds.com. I'm going to wrap up the show. Thanks, Beth and Tony, for being on. And this is important. Please stay on. After I end the show, there's something that I need to unload and to upload, not unload. And thank you all for tuning in, and I urge you to really think about what activities bring you joy. How do you like to create? And if it's something you haven't done for a while because life has gotten in the way with all its obligations, what would it be like to pick it up again for maybe 10 or 20 minutes a day to start with, 5 minutes? Just might as well do it because it brings you joy. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
Agree.
Good advice.
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, thank you all for tuning in. You are the best and only you in the world. Thanks for being you.
Aw.